The Super Nintendo version of Jurassic Park is a very ambitious game that tries to be more than just a cheap movie tie-in, but how successful is it? As Dr. Grant, your mission is to call the mainland for a rescue chopper, but before you can do that, you must reboot the computers, stop the dinosaurs from reaching the mainland, and destroy the raptor nest. There are two gameplay modes. The interior sections are played from a first-person perspective. This is where most of the missions are completed. The outdoor sections are played from an overhead perspective. This mode is mostly just used for travel between the buildings and collecting raptor eggs that aren't in the nest for some reason. There is a lot of backtracking because you need ID cards to open doors, and the cards are scattered around various buildings. Plus, some functions can only be accessed by certain computer terminals, and the location of those terminals doesn't make much sense. At one point, you need to turn off the supply boat's autopilot so it doesn't take a bunch of dinosaurs to the mainland. But you can't use one of the computers on the ship. Only a computer in the raptor pen can turn it off. It makes sense that certain doors can only be opened by Jurassic Park staff, but why is it that certain doors can only be opened by the ID cards of the inspection team? Is Dr. Sattler supposed to come to the island every time someone needs to use the elevator in the control room? And also, for some reason, you can't check your inventory at any time. You have to use a computer to tell you what you are carrying in your pockets. Some rooms are dark and require night vision goggles. The goggles never run out of power once you find a battery for them, but the battery only works in the building it was found in, so you have to find a new battery for each building. The controls are just fine in the outdoor sections. They usually work well in the indoor sections as well, but every now and then I found myself moving diagonally when I was trying to move straight ahead. The game supports the SNES mouse, but I don't have one, so I can't say if it works well or not. The outdoor visuals are cartoony but very good. Everything is brightly colored, clearly defined, and animates well. The indoor visuals are also very good considering that this is a Super Nintendo and there aren't any special chips in the cart. Unfortunately, the frame rate is quite slow in places. However, there are times when there are an impressive number of raptors on screen at once. The Dilophosaurus looks pretty close to the one from the movie, but the raptor colorization is closer to how they were described in the novel, although their colors change depending on whether you are inside or outside. The T-Rex sounds like she does in the movie, but the other dinosaur sounds are pale imitations. The other sound effects are pretty good, a little cartoony, but I guess that fits the look of the game. The music is probably the best part of the game. There is a different theme for each of the different areas. The music for the interior sections has an ambient industrial feel that conveys the menace of being hunted in a confined space. It reminds me a lot of the T-1000 theme from Terminator 2. But my favorite has to be the mountain theme with its upbeat feel and jaunty flute sections. There is a great OC remix of it by Tech Sound that you should check out. The high score theme is pretty awesome too, so it's a pity that it isn't in the main game, because you won't be on the high score screen for very long. The raptors, spitters, and even the T-Rex are easy enough to deal with. It's the smaller creatures that are the problem. The Pachycephalosaurs and giant dragonflies are difficult to hit and like to push you into hazards. Not only did Dr. Grant's father never build him a treehouse, he also didn't teach him to swim. The score is useless. It does not reset when you get a game over, and you have infinite continues. Honestly, it is more of a challenge to get a low score than a high score. There were a couple times when I had to reset the game. Once I walked through this picture somehow on the wall and couldn't get back out. And once I ran into a corner of a wall on the ship and got stuck. As bad as that is, it wouldn't be a very big problem if you could save, but you can't. This is the game's biggest failing. It takes 4 to 5 hours to beat, and there isn't a password system, battery backup, or even a level select code. The manual states that Dr. Grant has been invited to Jurassic Park to examine the dinosaurs. In this version of the park, everything is overseen by a giant supercomputer, which of course malfunctions and turns all the safety systems off. The manual doesn't mention any other characters, but in the actual game you will receive messages from the movie characters. It isn't clear how they are communicating with you, or if they are even on the island, and for some reason everybody calls Alan Mr. instead of Dr. You can explore the whole island. Most of the locations from both the novel and the movie are present, but strangely the main road is absent. Remember that part about stopping the supply ship from leaving? Well, eventually you kill every dinosaur on the ship, and since it is completely automated, why not just use that to escape the island? Grant can drown or get eaten, and the dinosaurs can be tranked or blown up. All of this is done in a very cartoony fashion. Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo is an interesting but flawed addition to the franchise. It does some things very well, and some things very poorly. I like this game, but the lack of a save feature prevents me from recommending it to the average gamer. For those of you that are fans of Jurassic Park, and have 5 straight hours or more to set aside for gaming, this should be on your list of games to play, but not very high on that list.